Hello, welcome to another preview video from Stats Perform. I'm Duncan Alexander and I'm joined by my old friend Matt Furniss today, and we're going to look ahead to the big game on Sunday, which is Chelsea hosting Manchester United. Now, there's a few ways to kind of approach football in the modern era. You can get in a very technocrat coach like Thomas Tuchel maybe at Chelsea, or you can rely on a legend, a club legend. That's what Chelsea had been doing with Frank Lampard. And it's what Manchester United have done with a bit more success with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the last few years. But the last manager to win the English title for a club he used to play for was George Graham way back in 1991. So it doesn't seem like club legends have a kind of fast way to a blueprint, if you like, to win league titles. So maybe Chelsea have made the right decision. Thomas Tuchel certainly started pretty well at the club. They had a very impressive win at Atletico Madrid in the Champions League in midweek. Can they continue this form as they face Manchester United, who themselves have been one of the most impressive away teams we've ever seen in top flight football? So without any further ado, Matt, over to you.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Chelsea and their style of play. Since Tuchel came in towards the end of January, very much possession-based, high number of passes in games. So they've averaged 631 successful passes per game in the Premier League since he came in, which is the second most behind Manchester City. But they have actually averaged the highest possession figure so far at 69%. So we've become used to Chelsea keeping a lot more of the ball. Under Lampard, it wasn't so much the case. Earlier this season under him, they averaged 102 fewer passes per game and had 59% possession. But I think it's important to note like the quality of opposition as well. Chelsea haven't really faced anyone who you would expect to have more possession than them. The only team that you would probably say are at a level near them are Spurs, and we know how well they're playing with the ball this season. Don't really like it, do they? So they'd rather the opposition have the ball and allow it. So it's even though they're having passing in the game, it's not really converting to top quality chances. So since he came in, Chelsea have actually had the 12th highest open play XG per game. So it's not like they're creating loads of chances with the passes. It's a very quite slow and intricate game. And like it's very kind of possession based and waiting for the right opportunities. So they're not really performing high up in goals or shots or anything like that. Passing metrics and possession, yes. So the average opposition position that Tuchel has faced so far is 14th in the Premier League. So he's not really been tested too much. And this is the first real big test in the Premier League. Although obviously the win against Atletico in the Champions League in midweek was a really impressive one.
Yeah, I think there's a parallel as well, isn't there? Because if you think back to earlier in the season, Manchester United were facing Leipzig in the Champions League, and similar to Tuchel, you know, Julian Nagelsmann was touted as this kind of thinker that could outperform Solskjaer. United battered them at home and hit them on the break numerous times. Obviously, in the reverse game in Germany, fared less well. And lost and went out of the Champions League, but they still did come back towards the end of the game. So this idea, I think, that Solskjaer is kind of always outthought by technical managers isn't necessarily the case, but I do think it relies on games where he can get United playing in a way that allows them to counterattack effectively. You know, of all the teams in the Premier League this season, you can see on the graphic we're going to show now that you know, United have been most adept at kind of fast and intricate. So there's kind of obviously many different ways to play football, but you know, they move the ball up the field the quickest, and they don't just launch it in a kind of John Beck sort of way. It's, you know, it's still done with purpose, and that's where you get the best out of players like Rashford and Greenwood and others as well. And Bruno obviously gets that opportunity to sit just behind them and pick them out as well. So I think we'll touch on him a bit later as well in terms of, you know, often gets criticised as just a kind of set piece taker and scorer, but that isn't necessarily the case. So yeah, for me, United, when they're allowed to play, are probably one of the most dangerous teams in the Premier League. But if you can stop them playing, then they quickly kind of, you know, lose their way quite easily. And I think Tuchel is the sort of manager that will be aware of that, and I'm sure he'll be be preparing to do stuff to stop them.
Yeah, and as you touched on there, that Marcus Rashford is one of the key components in that counter-attacking, fast, intricate style of play. This season, like he's having a brilliant season for United, and 36 shot involvement. So that's either having the shot himself or creating the chance for a teammate following a ball carry this season, which is the third most in the Premier League by a player. So a ball carry is when you travel with the ball 5 meters or more. And we also have something called the progressive ball carriers, when you carry the ball upfield rather than just sideways or backwards in possession, which admittedly doesn't happen too often. But this season so far, Rashford really standing out in terms of progressive ball carries and actually the output that he's getting from those carries. So only, as I said, only 2 players have actually created more chances or had a shot following ball carries. But you see from the graph on display now that actually this season, he's not attempting much more in terms of progressive ball carries per 90 distance. It's still around the same. I think it's 110 meters per 90 this season. It was 108 last season in the Premier League. But what he's doing with those ball carries is that he's attempting a lot more shots, creating a lot more chances. So he's actually doing something with it. It's not uncommon to see Rashford run with the ball. We all know that he's become synonymous for that style of play. Apart from the standout season in that graph you can see. It's just that he's doing a lot more now. He seems to understand his role in the team and be able to actually do something with the ball once he's done that.
So he's carrying the ball about 110 metres, and he seems to have got over the hurdle of not scoring regularly. He's obviously scoring a bit more.
So it's like so every 57 minutes he's averaging a chance created or shot from a carry, which obviously is a great output for an attacker.
It's also useful info for anyone who's tweeting him saying stick to football as well, because it looks like he is sticking to football and managing to do other stuff at the same time, which is impressive.
Carrying the country and carrying the ball, Duncan.
Yeah, very, very good. I couldn't do neither, but yeah. Okay, I guess the next thing to look at, and these things are a bit nebulous sometimes, and does it mean anything? Each game is a new game, but United are on this club record 19 unbeaten game away from home run. Which is really impressive. And they actually go level with Chelsea if they don't lose at Stamford Bridge this weekend. They've won the last 3 competitive games away at Chelsea. Everyone probably remembers that free kick Marcus Rashford scored. One of the best free kicks we've seen, best knuckleball free kicks we've seen probably in the last 10 years, I'd say. And United have averaged 2.33 points per game away from home this season. I mean, everyone knows that, they've come back again and again. They're well on course to set records in terms of comebacks this season, points won as well. So, but then you would argue that if they fall behind at Stamford Bridge against this Chelsea team, then that will be the toughest, comeback scenario they've had to face this season probably. And maybe the ultimate test, if they can come from behind against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, then, they're probably not going to win the league, but it pretty much will seal second-ish, apart from Leicester maybe, who are also good away from home, in my opinion. So yeah, it's a big opportunity for them to keep this record going.
Yeah, funny you say that about their chances of finishing second. So we actually give them a 50% chance of finishing second this season and a 75% chance of finishing the top 3 in our predictor. So the odds are really stacked with them to get automatic Champions League qualification for next season, which you have to accept is their aim now. Then they're very unlikely to win the title and recoup that 10-point deficit against their rival City. Chelsea, on the other hand, it's not looking so great according to the data. We only give them a 41.7% chance of finishing the top 4 this season. So it looks more likely that they'll finish in the 5th or 6th positions as it stands. And end up playing Europa League football next season unless they can win the Champions League.
Well, there you go. I mean, the dream scenario, obviously, I think, is Liverpool v Chelsea finishing outside the top 4 and then playing each other in the Champions League final, essentially for a playoff for next season being in the Champions League, which would be nice, but perhaps unlikely, but you never know. Cool. Well, I mean, this game looks like it, there's arguments as we've just made, that either team could win. So yeah, maybe it'll be a draw, but hopefully it will live up to expectation. Some of the big games in the Premier League this season, and kind of generally as well, Liverpool United games generally tend to be a bit cagey, but Chelsea United matches tend to be a little bit more open. So hopefully that's the case. Hopefully you've gleaned some info from this video. We'll be back again soon. Thanks for tuning in.